The film industry, a vast and diverse landscape, has long been home to actors and actresses who carve out unique, albeit sometimes unconventional, niches for themselves. One such figure is Julie Smith, an actress whose journey traversed mainstream cinema, softcore erotica, and cult film notoriety. Her name may not resonate in every household, yet within the domains she inhabited, her influence is palpable. Smith's career trajectory, from child actor to penthouse pet, from Hollywood hopeful to queen of softcore, provides a fascinating lens through which to examine broader themes of celebrity, sexuality, and cinematic subcultures. Julie Smith, career unfolded against the backdrop of a transforming entertainment landscape. The late 20th century saw a growing acceptance and exploitation of erotic content within popular media. Simultaneously, B-movies, low-budget productions often dismissed by critics, carved out resilient fanbases and became springboards for alternative narratives, marginalized talents, and subversive storytelling. Smith's transition from minor Hollywood appearances to the leading lady of softcore films like the Bare Wench Project and several Andy Sidaris productions symbolizes not only personal reinvention but also the democratization of fame within niche markets. Julie Smith, body of work, while often relegated to the margins of cinematic respectability, embodies critical shifts in media consumption, the sexual politics of performance, and the enduring allure of cult stardom. Her career challenges conventional definitions of success, artistry, and influence in the modern entertainment industry. Julie Smith, introduction to the world of acting began early, under the tutelage of one of the most revered acting coaches in American history, Stella Adler. This detail, often overlooked in cursory discussions of her career, provides critical insight into her foundational understanding of the craft. Adler's technique, rooted in the teachings of Konstantin Stanislavski, emphasized emotional authenticity, imagination, and social responsibility in performance. Training under such a prestigious figure suggests that Smith's initial ambitions aligned with serious dramatic art rather than the oriented media for which she would later become known. Smith's early foray into film is marked by an uncredited appearance in Alan Parker's 1976 musical gangster pastiche Bugsy Malone. Although minor, this appearance placed her on sets populated by emerging talents and demonstrated early immersion in professional film environments. However, Smith's more visible early roles came with her adolescence and young adulthood, notably in the 1987 sex comedy Pretty Smart alongside Patricia Arquette. Here, she played a stereotypical, rich sexbot, a role that, while typecast, nonetheless showcased her ability to command screen presence, a crucial skill that would serve her in later years. Despite this early momentum, Smith's forays into mainstream Hollywood during the late 1980s and early 1990s yielded limited returns. Films like The Last Boy Scout and Disorderlies offered her little more than background visibility, with non-speaking parts that underscored the industry's limited willingness to invest in her as a lead talent. In this period, the American entertainment industry was undergoing significant shifts. The blockbuster era, inaugurated by films like Jaws and Star Wars, increasingly privileged big-budget productions and marquee stars. For performers without major agency backing or studio favor, opportunities became correspondingly scarce. Faced with the daunting prospect of Hollywood marginalization, Julie K. Smith, like many of her contemporaries, sought alternative venues to showcase her talents. Her early experiences, rigorous classical training juxtaposed against limited mainstream success, primed her for a career path that would blend resilience, adaptability, and a canny understanding of evolving media appetites. Julie Smith's transition into softcore erotic films was neither accidental nor entirely reactive. It reflected a conscious engagement with a burgeoning market that, in the 1990s, occupied a distinctive niche within home entertainment. This era witnessed the proliferation of cable television, video rental stores, and direct-to-video markets, all of which fueled demand for themed but non-explicit material. Smith quickly became a fixture within this ecosystem, leveraging her classical training and early Hollywood polish to distinguish herself in a crowded field. Her performances in productions such as Erotic Confessions and the Bare Wench Project exemplify this synthesis. She brought a measure of credibility and nuance to roles that could easily have lapsed into caricature under less capable stewardship. Importantly, Smith's work within softcore cinema coincided with, and contributed to, the genre's subtle shifts in tone and style. Early softcore was often exploitative in presentation, geared primarily toward male gaze-driven consumption. However, the 1990s saw an increasing incorporation of narrative complexity, humor, and camp. Films like those directed by Jim Wynorski, with whom Smith enjoyed a long professional relationship, parodied mainstream genres while delivering the requisite titillation. Through these collaborations, Smith emerged not merely as an objectified figure but as a participant in a subversive cinematic dialogue. Projects like The Witches of Brestwick blurred the lines between satire and sensuality, and Smith's performances often embodied an ironic self-awareness that challenged simplistic readings of her work as mere softcore filler. Moreover, her repeated starring roles in Andy Sidaris' action erotica films, where gun-toting, bikini-clad heroines battled evil with both wits and weapons, further complicate her legacy. These films celebrated female agency, albeit through an undeniably exploitative lens. Smith's characters were often proactive, assertive, and central to the narrative action, suggesting that her career in softcore, while certainly capitalizing on sexual appeal, also offered a form of empowerment atypical in more respectable cinematic spaces. Critics of Julie Smith's oeuvre, and of softcore cinema more broadly, argue that such work perpetuates regressive gender stereotypes and commodifies female bodies for male consumption. Indeed, the majority of Smith's filmography fits within an industry predicated on voyeurism and objectification. For some, this reality casts a shadow over any claims to artistic legitimacy or cultural value. However, a deeper reading complicates this critique. Cultural theorists like Linda Williams, in works such as Hardcore, Power, Pleasure, and The Frenzy of the Visible, argue that erotic cinema occupies a unique position in visual culture, exposing and dramatizing societal anxieties about sexuality, gender, and power. Within this framework, Smith's career can be seen as both a product of and a commentary on these dynamics. Furthermore, the cult following that Smith's films have garnered suggests an enduring appreciation not merely for their erotic content but for their camp, humor, and audacity. In fan circles, Smith is celebrated less as a passive object and more as a vibrant participant in a shared cinematic language that revels in excess and subversion. Her decision to retire after The Witches of Brestwick, and then to return to acting 2 years later, reflects an ongoing negotiation of personal agency within an industry often hostile to such autonomy. Ultimately, Julie Smith's career invites a re-evaluation of cultural hierarchies and aesthetic values. What mainstream critics might dismiss as trash or exploitation can, in fact, reveal intricate performances, subtle critiques of genre conventions, and expressions of personal and collective identity often absent in sanitized, mainstream fare. Julie Smith's career charts a compelling course through the margins of American cinema. From her early training under Stella Adler to her initial forays into Hollywood, and finally to her reign as a queen of softcore and cult film, Smith consistently demonstrated adaptability, resilience, and a keen understanding of evolving media landscapes. Her work reflects larger cultural shifts around sexuality, celebrity, and the economics of entertainment. Through her multifaceted career, Julie K. Smith challenges conventional narratives of artistic legitimacy and success. Rather than being a figure of mere exploitation or minor notoriety, she emerges as a symbol of alternative paths to influence and significance within a rapidly changing media environment. In an era where digital platforms have further democratized fame and disrupted traditional media hierarchies, Julie Smith's career offers a prescient model of how marginalization can breed not invisibility, but innovation. Her story reminds us that cultural impact is not always measured by mainstream success but by the enduring resonance of one's work within the communities that recognize its value. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to our channel. By subscribing, you'll be notified when we upload new videos. Thank you again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video.